Hey, Rob.
Hi, Nora. How are you?
I'm good. I'm giving you the classic Sandy and Nora welcome to the show. And to just start this off in the most kind of comfortable way, I guess, can you give me the 30 or 90-second pitch for why you are the best candidate to lead the NDP?
You bet. I'm new. I'm not something that conservatives or liberals have seen before. I am from the working class. I've been a longshoreman docker for 32 years. I'm a 10-year veteran of being the president of ILW Canada, and I'm all for standing up for the working class and fighting the class war.
All right. Now, the focus on class war is certainly music to my ears and music to a lot of people's ears. And I'm wondering, like, what is your main criticism then of the NDP? Have they abandoned the class war, or do you think it just hasn't been as prominent? Like, what is driving you to enter this race and to change? Assumingly, you want to change something about the party.
I actually want to change it quite a bit. So I think what happened is over the last few years, we forgot how to listen to the working class, and we forgot how to talk about what they want us to talk about. And then under the supply and confidence agreement, whether you agree with it or not, we got three really good things out of it that we never would have gotten, and they were staples of the NDP for generations. Um, but we forgot how to communicate that to people and to actually take credit for ideas that were ours. And so that's kind of when I got into the race, our slogan is to bring us back to our roots and to bring us back to where we listen to people. We inquire about what we're listening about, so we get more of an in-depth understanding of the situation, and then we work together for fixes to the issues.
Hmm.
And then we can communicate that properly and directly to whether it's the government or if we're not fully in opposition, then the opposition parties to Canadians. Um, and I also want to try to change a bit of the structure of the party.
Hmm.
Because my union, the one I've represented for the last 10 years as the national president, uh, we're a rank and file based organization union. So our membership lead us. So every 2 years we go to convention, they give us a direction, we do that direction, and then certain points within the years in between conventions, I report back to an executive board about what we're doing. And if something big comes up, I can't, as president, just say, I'm going to go do this because I think it's a good idea. I have to go back to my executive board and say, okay, this is what's happening. This is the idea. What do you think? And then they, because in between conventions, our executive board is the highest body in the union. And then we debate it. We come up with a game plan, and then myself and the other officers of ILW Canada put that game plan into play. And that's what I want to bring to the party.
So that sounds like you see a democratic deficit within the NDP, based on your experience as within the labor movement.
So what I've heard over the last, well, since October, since I launched, was a lot of members, and especially EDAs or riding associations, have said they feel like they haven't been listened to, haven't been heard, if there's any communication at all, or if there and there's no education going on from the EDAs I've spoken to. And so we have to bring that back,
Mm.
right? So because when I'm elected on March 29th, I could be sitting in Ottawa going, hell yeah, I'm like the best thing since sliced bread. But the whole could be burning down around me, and I would have no idea why, because there's no communication with the membership of the party, and the membership is our truest, strongest part of this party. Right?
Mm.
Uh, and we get that voice through the EDAs. And so part of what I want to do is go to quarterly assessments with the leadership of the party, with the EDAs, to find out where everything's going and
Mm.
how everything's operating. Because one person doesn't have all the ideas and all the answers for everything. Maybe the caucus doesn't have all the ideas or the answers for everything, but there has to be a sharing of knowledge and sharing of information. And that leads us into the education part of it is we have to create an education program within the NDP that gives the EDAs the ability to, because some we don't have anywhere except when the elections happen and then we just throw it together, run the election, and it's over.
Hmm.
Is we have to give an educational program that has substance to it, that can guide the next generation, because every true leader knows when their time is up, right? Because we're only the flag bearers for a short period of time,
Hmm.
and if we don't get the next generation ready to take over leadership of the party, leadership of the EDAs, then we've failed that next generation.
Mm. Now, like thinking the last 6 years, maybe aside from the supply and confidence agreement, what issue do you think really suffered as a result of this lack of grassroots interaction with the leadership? Like, can you give an example of a thing that really would have been much stronger had there been that interplay?
I think we've seen it. We had 7 seats, right?
Right.
I think that plays a big part of it. I know when talking to workers or talking to Canadians across the country, members of the working class, um, they say like we're unseen, we're unheard.
Mm,
When I was in every time I went into Saskatchewan, I've been told this is the province the party flies over.
yeah.
When I was in Gatineau for an event, people were telling me that that was the first event that was held in Gatineau since Jack Layton. It's like 5 seconds from Ottawa,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so it's quite worrisome,
Hmm.
and I think that's where we've missed it,
Hmm.
because the party shouldn't be just about one person. Right now, we've got a caucus of 7 people, and so with the leader, that'll be 8. So the party now becomes a leadership team of 8, plus a broader leadership team of all the EDAs, right? And we have to expand that way of thinking.
Mm,
And some might say, "Oh, it's cumbersome. It's this. It's that. It's," but it's not. Right? Like hiring of the national director, that should be approved by convention
hmm.
and then reassessed every 2 conventions to make sure that there's a plan in place, and the national director is following that plan, and the membership can tell us.
Right. Now, you are the only candidate in the race that hasn't run before in a local election. Of course, you've got tons of experience at the union level, and coming from the labor movement, I know what that means. But you haven't run for the NDP yet. So, what made you
Nope.
say going from zero to 60 rather than maybe 0 to 30?
Well, so it's a long story, but I'll shorten it up. Um, so I was there the night that Jagmeet resigned, and that night I had people saying, "You
Mm,
would be great," and I went like, "Hold on a second, like let's mourn for a little while. Let's work through our feelings." And then I was emailed by a buddy of mine, somebody who I'd met. He's a buddy now. I had met at the BC Federation of Labor Convention, a machinist member on Vancouver Island. He emailed me, sent me a beautiful email, met him for coffee, and he said to me, he goes, "Don't say yes, don't say no, but promise me you'll think about it." And I went, "Yeah, okay, I'll promise you I'll think about it." And then he sent me a link to a University of Ottawa online magazine, theleveler.ca, and it was an article about names that they heard. It was like 60 people, and my name was on it. I was like, "Oh my God, what?" Um, and so I really started thinking about it and phoning some people. And then I went and talked to my dad and my kid. And my dad said, "Son, I've known you for 49 years, your whole life. And so you either have to put your money where your mouth is, or you got to shut up."
mm,
And he goes, "I've never known you to be able to shut up." And so I jumped in the race, basically. Then I called a bunch more people in September and went, "I'm in. Now what do I do?" And I was guided on what to do. I had to create a team, which was amazing. People throwing support behind me
mm,
and building it from that. So it was. I got into it because I was angry that you got Polyev and marching around pretending he's a working class hero
Mm,
and people buying into it. And that really, really upset me. Um, just listening to the way he talks and some of the policies he's come through and supported over the years. Um, and then people going, "Oh yeah, he's going to support the working class." No, he's not. He's doing what the liberals do every election, politic and left, so that they can rule right for the ruling class.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I said, "I'm in. Let's do this, and let's get my name out there and see what comes out of it."
Yeah, that leveler list was pretty good. I have to say it's a good endorsement. I was on it too. But it's just shout out to the folks at Carleton University, not University of Ottawa. No, I mean it's hard to tell apart until you get into the student movement, and then you know real easy the difference between the two. And actually, about that, like you make a point in your bio to say that you've kept 12 federations together as the president of the International Longshoremen Union, Longshore Workers Union, sorry, and
Longshore Warehouse Union.
Longshore Warehouse Union.
Yeah,
Look at me.
it,
Look at
it's
me.
okay. You're not the only one.
Now I know why that's impressive. I know why it's impressive to keep 12 federations together, as they say, come from the student movement. But I don't know if it's obvious to the people that'll be voting. Why did you mention that in your bio specifically?
So ILW Canada has 12 locals and 3 affiliates. And each one of our locals are autonomous from each other and autonomous from ILW Canada. And that's the same with our affiliates. And so I don't have the power to walk into the room and say, "All right, local number one, you're doing this," because they'll show me the door and give me an exit strategy quite quick. And so I have to, if there's a path that I would like to go down as the president, then I have to go and meet with each local and talk with each local. I have to meet with our executive board. I have to meet with the officers of ILW Canada, and I have to explain why my idea is good.
Mhm.
And throughout that process, things can change in the plan, and it only gets better from there. And if people go, "Rob, you're like, there's that plan's not going to work. Why don't we try this?" And that's an added bonus because we have more voices in the discussion, and we have open, honest, and sometimes really hard debate on issues.
Mm,
But at the end of the day, when we walk out of the room, we walk out united because we've all been able to have our say. And then we put the plan in place, whatever that plan looks like. It could be the original plan or it could be something completely different. And I'm fine by that because that's way this our union and that's the way the NDP should work, by open, honest, and hard discussions.
mm, mm. Now, those hard discussions sometimes do not happen within the NDP. I find myself on the outside of the party, and I'm, a socialist, which, socialists and social democracy doesn't always go hand in hand, but we've got lots of common things that we should be fighting for. So I'm very curious. You've gotten many union endorsements. I think it's probably the most union endorsements, or at least a lot. Um, but how do you see the broader left, social movement organizations, other left wing people that are not in the party, and the left wing of the labor movement interacting with the NDP? What is that interplay in your mind, and how would you encourage it or interact with it if you were the leader?
So the NDP, I've always thought of as the melting pot of all social movements, and where we can all have our voices heard and have those discussions. Our union, my God, a few years ago now, because we're still trying to stop Roberts Bank Terminal 2 from being built in British Columbia. That's where the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority wants to put a piece of land in the ocean and then construct a all intents and purposes, a fully automated container terminal.
Hmm.
And so we've been fighting that for years, and the battle continues. And I got a phone call from an environmental group one day, and they said, "Hey, do you want to work with us?" I said, "Yeah, give me some time." So I called up the locals, my locals, right? And not my locals, but the locals of the union, to have that conversation. And we said, "Yeah," because we're walking in the direction, just two separate paths. And so we met, myself and some environmental groups, and I said, quite frankly, Out of 100 issues, we may not agree on 98, 99 of them, but we found this one issue that we can work together on. And that one issue is going to be able to get us to a point where we understand each other. We can disagree on certain items and still keep that open, hard conversation. And as we go forward, maybe we can identify areas that we can work together again. And so what we found is now when we do interviews, I'm talking about Roberts Bank Terminal 2. I'm talking about environmental issues. They're talking about labor issues
Mm,
because we've educated each other. And that's how I see the go forward with this is the labor movement's going to have obviously a big role in an NDP that's led by me. But we're also have room for everybody else because we're going to be able to have those conversations. There's going to be some days where we don't agree, and that's fine because disagreement is okay.
mm,
We just can't pick up our toys and go home at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Uh, because disagreement is one of the, for me, is one of the foundations of a democratic organization. Just don't burn the house around us.
mm,
And so I believe there's a path forward, and that like, and I know we're not going to talk about it, but that's when I talk about environmental issues. I always say, yes, we have to move into a green economy that's built by the Canadian government, owned by the Canadian government. But as we do that, we have to bring workers along with it because as soon as you walk into a mine or an oil field or pick a workplace and say your job doesn't matter, your job is bad, and by the way, tomorrow you're not going to have it, you lose an entire generation of workers to the conservatives mostly or to the liberals. And at the end, and we have 10 guiding principles in our union, and guiding principle number 3 talks about division being the weapon of the boss.
mm.
And so we have to bring everybody along.
That leads me to a question that I asked Heather McPherson, and I want to ask it to you as well. And I've phrased it to be provocative. Are you? I'm gonna actually do that again. I forgot to unplug my phone. There we go. Are you the oil and gas candidate in this election?
I get that a lot actually, and it all because of one headline. Um, so the oil and gas candidate, no, I'm the working class candidate. And so what that means is like that pipeline deal that Smith and Carney signed. That at the end of the day is just a pipe dream because nobody thinks it needs to be built. Enbridge won't even touch it, right? And so my position on projects like that is if we have Indigenous free, prior, and informed consent for it, if we have community support for it, whether it's a pipeline or a mine, like in the area or on the route, if the provinces agree to it, then that opens up a conversation to be had. And
Mm,
then we have to look at and actually look properly at environmental damages that a project could do. Like Vancouver Fraser Port Authority, all the environmental damage, the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 project, I believe a lot of the environmental damage that could become from it was ignored or was pushed off because they chose the economy over the environment. So we have to take hard looks at that and fix those types of decisions.
mm.
And if a province says no, then it's a no.
Right. You were the only candidate that wasn't able to make the debate that was held specifically on the question of Palestine. You, I believe, had
Correct.
an arbitration and weren't able to make
Correct.
it. So, what do you think about the conflict? Is it a genocide? And what kind of position do you think the NDP should take?
So my position on what's happening in Gaza has never changed. Yes, I believe it is a genocide that's happening there. Um, and some people in conversations that I've had say, well, it doesn't meet the criteria, and it may not. But the genocidal intent that the Netanyahu government is placing upon this, I believe, is there. Um, and we have to do better as Canadians. Uh, if it wasn't for the hard work of Heather and the NDP, the Canadian government wouldn't be as far along as they are, and they're not very far down that path
Mm,
of supporting Palestinians at the moment. Um, we have to work on ending uh, the military equipment that we create being sent to Gaza or sent to Saudi Arabia or pick another country. And we have to be, and Canada has to be willing to get into mixes of um, situations like Gaza or Iran, where the Iranian government is attacking its own citizens and killing thousands, if not tens of thousands, of their own citizenry. Um, we have to stay supporting Ukraine. Like we have to keep being the Canada we once were,
mm.
and that was a peacekeeping nation, not a puppet of the U.S. government.
Yes. So I don't know if you know where I am right now. I'm coming to you from beautiful Quebec City, and
Hmm.
uh,
I want to go there. I have yet to
you
be in Quebec
you
City.
probably should have. You should probably make some time to come here. Your performance in the French language debate was legendary, in a way.
I don't mean to laugh, but yeah.
No, it was. I mean, I
Mm.
was an adult that learned French, so I understand fully how difficult it is. And like most of the candidates are from the other side of the country, and so
Yeah.
my question is about the party. Obviously, answer however you like, but has the NDP given up on Quebec?
No, not at all. Um, like I'm from British Columbia. I'm 49 years old, and it's tough to learn French here. My girlfriend Elizabeth, who is from Montreal, is a francophone. Now lives in Ottawa. She's been a great help uh, getting me through, um, and I've got uh, quite a few senior members of my team are francophones, and they help me through it as well. Quebec and the French language is incredibly important to the NDP and incredibly important to me as a person. And I know, man, I butcher the French language something fierce, but I'm starting to understand it more. It's getting it from here to here.
Hmm, hmm.
And but I think for me right now, and this hit home was when I was in Gatineau for my event. I was talking to a sister who who reminded me that the culture is different, and I understood that, but not as in depth as I probably should have. And so she was teaching me about the Quiet Revolution when the citizens of Quebec fought back to take power from the church on their healthcare and their schooling system so that they can run it, so that the citizens of Quebec could run it. And then she looked at me and my friend said to me, she goes, "Why do you think the French language is so important?" I said, "Well," I said, "because it's Quebec. It's French. It's the language of Quebec. It's the language of francophone Canadians. Like it's really important." She said, "But there's another reason." She goes, "English was the language of the ruling class in Quebec, and French was the language of the working class." And like I'm getting goosebumps right now just remembering the story that
Hmm.
she told me. And for me, as the working class candidate, that hit home hard. And I was like, okay, I'm going to dig a bit more into this. And so, you look a little bit further. And in the early 1900s, we had the match workers, our sisters that worked in the matchstick factories. Elected a female president who fought for gender equity, pay equity, health and safety rules for their workers in the early 1900s in Quebec, and fought so hard for her membership and won a lot of good things for them.
Hmm.
And this is the type of rich, beautiful history that we have to learn, right? Because you can speak French, and I'm trying my ass off to learn. Um, uh, but if you don't understand the culture, I think you're missing something as well.
I'm really glad to hear that you've heard all this and that you've learned all this, because I have to say, when you said that ultimately there's only one language for the working class, I thought, oh man, he's got got to learn about what that language was in Quebec.
So if I could just expand on that a
For
little bit,
sure.
when I said like what I meant was the language of the working class speaks above all languages. And because I've been in protests around the world through my work internationally with our union, and there's many times where I've stood on a picket line or in a protest, and I look to my right of me, and I look to my left, and all around me, and there's nobody there that can communicate with each other
Hmm.
because we don't speak each other's language. But I tell you what, we do speak. You messed up. You messed with somebody, so we're now all here to defend that person. I don't know what you're saying. You don't know what I'm saying. But what we're telling them is what, FAFO. I don't want to say it on the air, but that's but that's what I meant
Hmm.
about the language of the working class rises above everything.
Hmm. Yeah. Do a deep dive into the FLQ next, and it'll blow your mind when you see the workers working the working class character of the FLQ crisis. I only have one more question before we get to lighter, more quick, where were you questions. But
Okay,
let's say you lose. What happens to your candidacy, your campaign, the movement that you're building right now? Where do you go from here if you're not the successful candidate?
I run. I run as an MP. I run as an MP, and I continue to fight for the working class. And if I get elected as a member of parliament, then I'm going to do the exact same thing that I promised I'd do as leader of the party, and that's to wear my work boots every day into the house. I'll probably have to take them off because they're steel toes. Um, and I'm sure I'll have to dress up in their suits. But when people are attacking workers, they're going to hear my steel toe boots tapping on the bench
Mm,
as a reminder that every single working class Canadian is in the house now, and they'll be listening, and they're gonna be up for a fight.
mm. Okay, so I picked a bunch of moments in time, some good moments, some bad moments in Canadian history. I had to like,
Oh,
well, this is all just very interesting. There's no right or wrong answer here.
okay.
You're on the younger side of the candidates, I believe.
I turned 50 on July 21st.
Okay, yeah. So I had
Second
to.
youngest, if you can believe
You're
it
the
or
second one.
not.
I can believe that, because I also know my own union's last convention had, I believe, like 42 young workers present, and our young worker age cutoff is 35, which is not young. So I had to pick a bit of a range of things here. So there might be things that you're just like, Nora, I have no idea where I was, and we're gonna judge
Okay.
you based on your reactions. Okay, not necessarily where you were. All right. So the first
Okay.
one has to be, I
I'm
mean,
scared.
I am on Boulevard René Lévesque. I am here where the tear gas was thrown at protesters. Where were you for the FTA protests in Quebec City in 2001?
In 2001,
Mm-hmm.
I was a business agent on the docks in Vancouver. If
Okay.
I remember. Oh no, no, no! Sorry. I'm mistaken. I was an A board casual on the docks in Vancouver. So I wasn't even in membership yet.
Okay.
So I was being a being a dad to a 1-year-old.
Wow. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
2 years after that, the world said no to war on February 15th, 2003. There were protests all over the world and in Canada. Where were you?
Probably working.
Hmm.
Honestly, because I had to work every single day because in 2003 we were a single income household, and I had to work. I had to pay the mortgage. I had to pay the food bills. I had to pay everything.
Okay. June 11th, 2008 was the day that Stephen Harper apologized to First Nations people in Canada. Do you remember where you were for that apology?
Yeah, I was in my office, and it was it was good to see an apology 100%. It was sorely needed is probably not even doesn't even paint the right picture. Um, but was it truthful? Was it meaningful? I think you look at the bills that are passing in Ottawa right now, where they're stealing away Indigenous rights to be able to speak on different programs.
Mm,
I don't think there is any. I honestly don't think there is any heartfelt emotion. Fast forward, knowing what's going on today.
mhm. Where were
Sorry, I probably shouldn't have to talk about it so much. It's
No,
just
no,
one
no.
word answers or
No, your
something.
answers are perfect. Everyone's done the same thing, so you're right in
Okay.
line with, your peers. Where were
Okay.
you when you found out that Jack Layton had died?
Oh fuck. I was I was in Vancouver, and it was Jack really inspired myself and a lot of people I know here. I remember watching him walking into a convention, and he had his cane and seeing what he did for Canadians and saying it was okay to be hopeful and saying it's okay to help out people. That it was going to be it's okay to be optimistic for your future. You know, there's times in our history when there's times in our history when you know that somebody was stolen from you
Mm,
that shouldn't have been stolen from us. And Jack is that person for New Democrats because I truly believe that if he was able to overcome the struggle, then we could have probably made government.
mm,
Uh, but at the end of the day, like that, making government when you're fighting that disease, that becomes for most people it would become okay. Well, I got to take a break, but he doubled down and he kept going and he kept going, and that truly showed you what kind of person he was.
mhm. Another date that is a sad date. Where were you when you heard about the shooting at the mosque in Quebec City?
Oh my god. I think it was here in Vancouver, if I remember correctly.
Mhm,
And to think that people, and that's the type of society that we're in today, is that people think it's okay to hate that badly and they hate that much. Where it's been because of people like Donald Trump, it's been okay to welcome hatred, um, to welcome putting people down, and to welcome. And Danielle Smith is somebody that says, and same with Pierre Polyev, people that say your life is so tough because of your neighbor, and that spreads the message of hate, and that spreads disinformation, and it sends people into a state that you don't look like me or you don't talk like me, so you're bad. And that's something that we have to break. And that's something that's going to take, unfortunately, probably some time to break. Because hatred shouldn't be put upon your neighbor, or your frustrations shouldn't be put upon your neighbor because of where your life is. Those frustrations that you're feeling, and that anger that you're feeling, should be placed where it belongs. And that's at the government that we have elected to lead our province, our territory, or our country. And I'm not saying act violently. I'm saying fix it.
mm.
If you want a different country to live in, fix it at the ballot box.
Okay, very different
Sorry.
again. It's all good. No, no, it's all this. As I said, there was no wrong. Well, there could be a wrong answer to some of these questions, but you're you're so far acing the test. Where were you for the final show of the Tragically Hip?
Oh my God. I was sitting on my couch in my house with my oldest grandbaby, and I was crying. And she looked at me. She's like, "Grandpa, what are you doing? Like, why are you so sad?" It's the first time she'd ever seen me cry.
Mhm.
And I said, "Because seeing the end of a legacy. Um, it was, and honestly, growing up, I wasn't a big Tragically Hip fan,
Mm,
but I got into their music later in life, and it's iconic. And so I said to my granddaughter, I said, "There's something special about somebody that can make a nation smile, that can make a nation for this much time forget about their troubles, and we all become one. And this will be the last time we'll ever see that done."
mhm.
And I think she got it.
You can circle back with her to see if she remembers that.
I will.
Okay, where were you when the Raptors won the NBA Finals against Golden State?
Probably not really watching. I'm not a huge basketball fan,
Hmm.
although I have fallen in love with it after watching some women's basketball game here in BC, university basketball game.
Mm.
Just making sure there's some threats made against the trans athlete, and I would just make there to make sure that nothing happened. And I actually went, "Hey, I kind of enjoy this sport now." And my girlfriend loves basketball, so I am learning to enjoy it and learning that that it's actually a pretty amazing sport because like I've never played it because I couldn't play it
Mm.
and never really got to appreciate it. But now we're watching more basketball games.
Cool. All right. This last question is really the storytelling time question. Where were you?
Oh, you're in trouble now
I know.
because I tell stories
Oh,
like
this is the problem
real.
with union leaders. I was gonna say I should have told you there was a time limit on all the answers, but this has been no problem. Um, where were you when you realized for real that we were in a pandemic?
um, when I read because I was in Australia for union business when it all started. I was actually in the Gold Coast, and they were talking about shutting the world down, and I was going like, "What the hell? Where are we?"
Mm,
Um, and that was when Tom Hanks and his wife got COVID at the exact same time I was there. Um, but it really hit home when everything stopped. When our docks stopped for a momentary period of time. And then we had to figure out how to keep our, whether you believe in the pandemic or not believe in pandemic, it was a real thing for quite a few people. And so we had to identify ways to keep people safe at work and keep seafarers safe as well because they were the forgotten the workers in the around the world because seafarers have a roughly 9-month contract for each vessel, and then they come to say Vancouver, and their replacement comes on board. They go home. No country in the world would allow a crew change,
mhm,
and so you had seafarers stuck on ships for a year, 18 months, 2 years. Rates of suicide went through the roof. Violence on board vessels went through the roof, and so the National Seafarers Welfare Board here in Canada, that our union belongs to, and the International Transport Workers Federation belongs to, worked with the Worldwide Inspectorate through the ITF and the Canadian government and like-minded unions in our country to identify ways to safely get seafarers off the vessels and get the replacements onto the vessels because everybody had forgotten about them,
mm,
like what usually happens. And so when those conversations were being done, um, and we realized that seafarers were never going to be able to get off their ships, that all kind of coalesced into okay, we're in a serious situation right now. Um, but we did good. Um, I think our country did good as best as we could. I know my union did really well over the 2 or 3 year period. We had a very small number, well below national average for workplace transmissions, and it was it showed us that, you know, if our country, if the ruling class actually wanted to help the working class, they could. And the only reason why they brought CERB in and all the other good stuff to help the working class during that period of time was so their ruling class friends wouldn't suffer. And so that, not only did that strengthen my notion of, okay, we're in a pandemic, we're in it because the government's actually doing good things to us for us. It also strengthened in my brain that ruling class governments don't give a flying fart about working class Canadians, and they never will until we make them, and we have to make them.
Well, that is a good place to land. I won't waste any time talking about what you think of the owner of DP World and the Epstein files, which I'm sure you have opinions on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this has been really fun and really great. So thank you so much for joining me, and good luck with the race, Rob.
Thanks, Nora. I really appreciate the time, man. I really appreciate it. Take care and stay well, eh?